Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, I'm just gonna fish under my desk for my charger.
Okie dokie.
Not ideal.
Um, hot and sweaty right at this moment.
What? Oh, because it's hot.
It's muggy. It's actually not as hot as usual, but
Really?
but the humidity is really high, so I just have one of my well, they're hand towels, but now I call them my sweat towels.
Well,
But
in this house, you can actually get wet. It's a dog training trick. You can get them wet and then put them in your freezer.
yeah,
And then you have a cute little
oh yeah,
cool, what are they called? Cool pack towel.
yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why I've got glare. I can't.
You're all right as long as you can see me. It's fine. My camera's recording all right because I got all the curtains behind me closed and the lights on. You can just pull it if you don't want the glare, you know.
It's okay. Tell me, hi, how you doing outside of the hot?
Honestly, it's been a nightmare. I have, last number of times I've seen you, I've said to you, I cannot wait to see you. Like, I've been hanging to see you. Like, again, same thing. So, to start off with, I haven't even finished watching the last one. I put it on before while getting ready after my shower. So we told you about the accident Merv had, right? And how it, fucking stubborn old man took me like 2 weeks to get in there to the doctors. I have no idea. No one seems to have any idea how or what's caused whatever is going on. But it got to the point where they, and I don't remember exactly what I've said to you because it just feels like this has been on fucking going. I think I said to you, the doctors we were seeing, every few days had sent him for an x-ray and then they needed him to have a ultrasound. And the ultrasound that we couldn't get an appointment for like 2 full weeks, right, when the doctor said that he needed it. So they said that he had to go to the hospital and have it done as an emergency. So all the paperwork was sent with him. He spent the day at the hospital and the hospital didn't do it, wouldn't do it, refused to do it. Said that it was unnecessary. So again, he had to wait for this appointment, right? So that's 2 weeks of not knowing what the hell is going on. And all we know is that it's becoming worse, right? Like, this went from, I don't know how you deal with gore, but if you can, I can show you. Like, I've told my followers, I've updated some photos, but I've got, anyway, let me tell this so there was a large hematoma with blood clots under the leg, under it, right? Since,
I'm going to tell you something that's kind of a little bit embarrassing, Olivia.
go
I
on.
don't remember him having an accident. I am so sorry. Now I feel like such a bitch. Is he okay?
He was flown to the Brisbane hospital on Monday.
I feel like I didn't know about that then.
Well, like I said, I haven't gotten to the end of this recording, so I may not.
Anyway, okay. So Murph had a big car accident.
No. So when the whole thing happened with the house going on the market, right?
Yes.
We didn't know what we were going to do, and Merv owns a caravan,
Oh, yes.
right? And we went to pick it up, and I remember saying to you, and look, I download so much on you that you almost never get a word in. So I don't blame you if you don't, but I remember saying to you that, I was really devastated because I went on the drive to get the caravan with him, believing that his friends liked me when really they very much did not. And then it became like really strange because they were like, what games are you playing? You must get the caravan off the property by sunset. It was just one bad thing after another.
Yeah.
So they had the caravan parked somewhere under shelter. Where it is here, it's not under shelter. And there was a crack in the skyline, right? And the rain was due. And it all happened on the day the caravan came back, right? And I was an absolute mess. Like, you know, I'd found out that I've been lied to, that, you know, just that, you know, I remember saying to you that he skim reads because his brain fills stuff in, whereas skim reading all the messages is what caused this thing to happen, because, you know, he swears black and blue that he had no idea that they felt about me the way they did, even though the texts started on the 14th of November, which was the day we arrived in Melbourne, and continued to get worse moving forward, to the point where they put the blame on me for the house going on the market. Everything that happened was piled onto me, right? So I was so broken on the drive back, right? And it's like a 2.5 hour drive each way. And when we got back, I just immediately put music on and just sat on the couch just crying. I was a mess. And what I didn't know was happening was that Merv had taken the ladder out to the caravan to put tape on top of the crack.
So it didn't leak. Yeah.
He thinks it's funny, and I just...
Not funny.
He goes, he didn't do it once, but he did it twice. So the ladder slipped, right? But he managed to catch himself, right? So it's already, he's aware this is dangerous, yeah? But he needs to do it. And you know what? Upset or not, I had no idea any of this was going on. There's no way I would have let him do it and not hold the ladder if I had a clue, yeah?
You can't blame yourself for everything that happens, Olivia. But anyway, it happens again, and then what happens to him? What happened? Tell me about her.
So, you know the rugs on the ladder, the step parts, how they're like metal, whatever, yeah?
Breaks.
He fell through the ladder. And the ladder, you know, you've seen Merv, he's a bigger guy, and he won't mind me saying that. So when he fell through the ladder, the rugs on the ladder ripped him open, effectively.
Jesus.
Literally from the foot, like right where the ankle is, all the way up to the knees, both legs, both sides, his stomach, his back, shoulders, like it was horrific, yeah?
Like cut open.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he comes in and he goes, I had a bit of an accident.
Oh, a little bit.
And he like walks around, and I immediately was like, you need to go to a hospital, you need a doctor. I had already had, I couldn't drive because of my state I was in, and I'd had my cannabis, yeah? And I immediately called my friend across the road and was like, please come here, I need you, yeah? And then the other neighbour that's at the side of us was actually the person who helped him out. He was stuck in this ladder, right, between it. And so he came over. So there was Merv, me, and the two neighbours. And I am just like, please, somebody, I need to call an ambulance. And all three of them were like, no, you don't. Don't be so ridiculous.
Yeah, in traditional rural Australia, man.
Yeah. And I was like, please, we need to get him to a doctor. Like, I can't drive. I couldn't have driven anyway in the state that I was in, weed or not. And I was like, can somebody just please help us? Help me help him, yeah? Because regardless of everything that had happened, it was fucking horrendous, Nicole. And they, all of them, looked at me like I was overreacting crazy woman. Like, why would we go to a doctor? Why on earth would we take him to the hospital? He's absolutely fine. He was a paramedic, so we still got like the big paramedic bag with all the first aid stuff in it, and, you know, was cleaning himself up. And no amount of me begging would get any of them to take it seriously. And I think maybe there's a chance, I don't know how all this shit works, but every time, I just feel like I've been in shock since this happened, which was the 14th of January, mind you. So he was keeping it clean and dressed, right, for refusing to see the doctor. And you said that I shouldn't blame myself for everything. Yeah, that's why I like therapy, because I have been blaming myself for everything from day dot, right?
Well, he's an adult man. You can encourage him to go to the doctor. You can make
I
him
did.
an appointment to go to the doctor. But you can't.
That's what I regret doing.
You're well past the point of being able to shove him in a car against his will and force him to go to the doctor. Like, at some point, he has to say, okay.
Yeah, and he did 2 weeks after the fact, right? Because
So I saw you after the accident, but he hadn't been to the, okay, so then he saw the doctor, what the doctor said.
So, this is where I just find it so fucking confusing, yeah? So, because, like I said, both of the legs were ripped, front and back, right? So they basically had what looked like identical, like, injuries, right? Tell me if you can handle it, because I will happily send it to you, because I've been taking frickin' pictures and videos since this started for all the people online who are, you know, following along the fuck what's going on.
Hopefully Merv was okay with that.
He's filming me in half of them, like, so, yeah, I would never ever film anyone who's not okay with it. Let's just get that one clear.
So he goes to the doctor says...
Yeah, so it was about 2 weeks and everything else was healing, and there was just... The only way to describe it is you know, like, say your kid falls over and gets a scratch or a scrape or whatever, and the scab, you know, skin scab up, and then the new skin grows underneath it, right?
The theory, yep.
Yeah, so this particular thing, it was literally like this big, right, Nicole? Yeah, like this long and, you know, about yay big. And the scab was massive, yeah? And because he'd been doing the dressing himself, and it was just, there was one point where I did it all for him, in the sense of, like, he was filming me for the channel while I redressed everything. You know, I had gloves on, we used all the whole thing, yeah? And it was this particular scab, and it looked like there was something stuck in it, like maybe from the bandage he'd put on earlier. We didn't know. I tried to remove it without damaging anything, and we both agreed we couldn't. We left it, right? So he keeps healing, and then it's at this point, this scab isn't going anywhere, and it's 2 weeks, and he's like, I will call a doctor. So we go to the doctor, right? And we tell the doctor what's happened, and we go into the nurse's station. And something that I didn't even know was a thing happened. So the nurse says, the first thing we have to do is remove the scab, right? So you know how I was definitely brought up, you don't pick scabs, that takes longer to heal them, you know? But this particular scab, this nurse soaked it in, I don't know, nurse stuff, whatever, did the whole thing, and it was like, I filmed it, she let me, like, slow sort of where they literally removed the scab. And underneath, oh my God, I thought I was going to pass out, right? Like, it was a hole, Nicole, right? And it was full of what they kept saying was like congealed blood, like blood clotting, like, and it was so swollen, and they were like trying to, like, literally they're on the legs doing this, if that makes sense, to try and get whatever this fluid is out of it, yeah? And it's just blood coming out, but they just keep saying none of it is fresh, none of it is fresh. There's got to be something going on, yeah? And so that's the first day we're at the doctor's, and they take, you know, swabs, and they put them on antibiotics and all of that, and they're like, you know, come back in a few days. So we come back in a few days, and the swab is saying it's fine, and they're like, so we just have to keep redressing it and, you know, getting whatever this fluid, you know, like dead blood, for lack of a better way of putting it, out, right? And so we're going to the doctors every few days, and in between though, it starts like pouring out of the wound, like bandage after bandage, and it was just leaking everywhere. And so we were going back, and to sum up a lot of trips to the doctor to make it easier, we were there so many times, right? At one point, the blood just came squirting out, like it just literally out of him. And they did numerous swabs, and they kept coming back negative, right? But then they did another swab, and it came back as infected. And we're just like, where has this happened, right? And not only that, each time we're there, like each day that continues on, this hole, this wound is getting deeper and bigger, not smaller, and healing, right? And like I said, we were sent to the x-ray the first time, came back, fine. They were sent for the ultrasound, couldn't get in, sent to the hospital wouldn't do it, was another 2 weeks. And then, and mind you, I don't understand how, but maybe he's a lucky person in one way, up until this point, he's not been feeling any pain, right? Which is obviously really, really good, yeah? But this mind fucked us, yeah? So he had to get the ultrasound. I was allowed to sit in and watch. I mean, I could see the screen. I don't need to be trained to know that what I was seeing on that screen was not meant to be there. You know what I mean? And
So we had an abscess.
a hematoma full of blood clots and fluid and stuff, right?
Huge abscess, yeah.
Yeah, massive, yeah. And what we didn't know would happen, right? Because we weren't warned, and you'll think this is just normal. So the guy, that technician, removes the dressing he'd put on himself to do it. Obviously, we're thinking this is a part of a hospital, they're going to redress it, right? And they did not. They just put the old dressing back on top, which made no sense, right? So we immediately, and you mind you, that's Gladstone. We don't even live in Gladstone, you know, so we've got to get home, get it more clean. And this time, for the first time, he's in pain. And he's in a lot of pain, right? And it was like everything is just so exhausting, right? And I happened to go to bed earlier than him that particular night, right? I really hope you're still there. Oh, yeah.
I'm here.
So I went to bed earlier than him, and the following day, I could see it on his face. He looked sick. He looked very, very unwell. He says to me, I almost woke you last night That's how bad everything got. And for the first time, I think he was like afraid, I guess, because he was extremely nauseous, lightheaded, dizzy. He said it felt like someone was stabbing him with hot iron in the wound. Like he was just radiating pain, but like you could see it on his face, right? And so, and not only that, like I said, the wound had continued to leak, but that particular morning, it was pouring out, right? And nothing was happening. Like he didn't know what to do. And so he was like, we need to go to the doctors, right? And I remember it was the Tuesday because the Monday had been the ultrasound and the appointment for the doctors was the Thursday to give them time to get in, yeah? But on the Tuesday, he was like, we need to go, literally. Didn't call them, didn't do nothing. We got in the car and we got in there. And he's like, I need to see someone effective immediately. Everybody knows we've been in and out now for a month, right? Yeah. What's going on? And they take him straight back to the doctors, the nurse's station, sorry, and the doctor's coming around and they redress it. They question about putting him back on antibiotics. So he'd already had 2 lots of antibiotics by this point, double strength ones, and not like a different kind because he's allergic to penicillin. But he'd started to get sort of like a weird sort of skin rash since he'd started taking them, and things weren't quite right. And so they had said they were going to take him off them to see if that cleared it up, like to see what the cause was. So when we were there on the Tuesday, they were like, we'll put you back on antibiotics. And then I don't know how it went. There's so many doctors that have been involved now. They decided to wait until he was meant to come back on the Thursday. Yeah. So they redress everything. We come back on Tuesday. He is just not well, right? He's not well for the whole freaking day, and I'm doing whatever I can.
Sepsis.
Yeah. And on Wednesday, same thing happens again. It's pouring out of blood, and it now smells by this point.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, we can't wait until tomorrow. And he immediately calls the doctor and he's like, can you please fit me in as soon as humanly possible? It's getting worse. Like, we're now at the point of like infection, septic, whatever the hell, like, it's becoming really, really bad, yeah? And yeah, so we're in on the Wednesday again. The doctors are there and they're like, we have 2 options moving forward. Option A was you need to go and see a surgeon, right? Option B was we will redress it and continue what we've been doing. And they were saying, we're going to send you to the Gladstone Hospital. And Merv was like, you already sent me there. I was there for an entire day and they didn't even do what was needed the first time. Like 2 extra weeks is, imagine how much better, like if they'd just done it that day, who knows what could have happened, right? And Merv is saying, I'm not going to Gladstone. I won't do it. And we're asking for them to send a referral to Rockhampton, which is an hour and a half away, right? And they're like, we can try, but because you live where you do, you know, you're likely to get turned away. And I just kept thinking, that can't be right. That can't be right. There's like zones for frickin' where you live in hospitals. So Merv was just like, I'm going to leave it. And then so we went back in on the Thursday. And by this point, it was, you now absolutely have to see a surgeon, right? Yeah. And Merv was like, can you please send the referral to the Rockhampton Hospital? And he's like, an hour and a half drive from here.
How
yeah,
far is
about half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour,
okay.
right? So they send it, and I was like, look, can you print it out for me? Print out everything we need. We've got, the ultrasounds, all the different results. Merv's like, we're going to try. So this was Thursday morning. We were at the doctor's. We literally came home, grabbed drinks, and made sure, food for Jackson, and drove. We just went straight there, right?
Yeah.
Thankfully, they were happy to see him, which you'd think they would be, right? Huh?
It's an emergency department, right? You can't not see someone. It's an emergency.
Yeah, that's what I thought,
But
but
if you're on holidays, like, you can come to, you can go to, I don't know, Perth and get sick. You need to see someone.
that's
Okay,
exactly
anyway.
my thought. So we end up spending almost 10 hours at the hospital at Rockhampton. He's taken through. He's told he needs to meet the surgeon, orthopedic surgeon. Then oh my God. Then they put him on this thing I didn't know existed. They put an IV on him and connected him to this IV thing that you take home, right?
Oh,
And so there's this thing up here where you can be hooked up to IV medication in your home, and then nurses come out every day to check on things, do dressings, and blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
And so they were originally saying that's what's going to happen for him. So they were waiting for the lady who deals with that stuff to come down. And we'd been put into like a ward room in the emergency floor, right? And just hours of so much shit going back and forth and so many doctors. And then this lady comes up and she's like, oh, you're from the Gladstone area. Well, we can't help you with that. You need to go to the Gladstone Hospital and get everything sorted from there. And I'm like, we came here for a reason. I'm like, and you're effectively trying to tell me that we have to go through this whole thing again, through the emergency department, through everything we've already been through for the last 7.5 hours we've been here. I was like, I broke at that point. I broke, and
I can understand that they can't do home
No.
visits outside of catchment,
but we're like trying to get them to organise it so we don't have to go through this whole thing again, right?
that seems very reasonable to ask them to do the referral.
And Merv is just saying, I don't trust them. Like, we came here for a reason. We need to see the surgeon. We were sent here to see the surgeon. And at this point, we still hadn't, right? And so this woman is telling me about Ryan's rule. I don't even know if Ryan's rule is a national thing or a Queensland thing. Have you heard of Ryan's rule? Okay, it's a Queensland thing, right? So it's basically these steps you got to take if you don't think you're getting the care you need, and there's this number you can call and whatever the hell it is.
It's called the deteriorating patient rules here.
Yeah. So she's saying you can call these people and make a complaint about the Gladstone Hospital. And I'm like, that is not going to help us now. It is not helping us now. And she's just, and this woman, oh my God, no empathy. How do people get into jobs the way they do? Like, it was clearly, he's a number, he's not a person, it doesn't matter to her, right? And she was rude as fuck, right? And I just turned around and I was in tears by this point. And I was like, I am at the point where I am ready to make a complaint against both of yous, both hospitals. And she's like, and why on earth would you be making a complaint about us? And I'm like, because of you and what you're doing right now. I said, that's why. I said, we have been through hell and we have been here for this long. And now you are just, what, going to turf us out and send us back to the other hospital that already didn't help him? I'm pretty sure it was my little meltdown and everything I said, because within pretty quick smart, there was a surgeon down there seeing him, right? And saying he cannot go home.
There's no wrong door, so you can't send a patient away and redirect them to another hospital, because unless there's a lack of resources, in which case the hospital has to arrange transfer.
Yeah. Well, the orthopedic surgeon comes down, takes a look at it, and is like,
That's bad.
he needs surgery, right? And the thing is, like I said, we'd already been there for so long, yeah? And in all fairness, neither of us thought, like, even though it was in the back of my head that there's a chance he may be staying, it was just so frantic, everything that had happened throughout the week, that it just didn't enter either of our heads to grab stuff, right? And to organise spare keys and things for Jackson and all of that. And so they're saying, we're admitting you tonight, yeah? And I'm like, absolutely just...
Get safe, get medical support.
Yeah, but like I was also sort of like not in a good state myself. And so we had to practically sort of beat them, so to speak, to be like, please let us go home so that we can leave keys and food out and get clothes and do everything.
How were you going to get home?
Drive.
Who was driving?
Honestly, he did, because it wasn't phasing him at this point. He's not allowed to drive at all again moving forward. Not doctors saying that, me saying that. And yes, I know it probably makes me the worst person ever, but at that point in time, he was actually the safer bet. And
yeah, so has your landlord has a key, right?
I don't know all this stuff, because remember the whole landlord bullshit's,
Yeah.
you know?
They should leave. Anyway, so long story short, he goes home, he gets some stuff, you get the key, you get the dog sorted, and then you're back out.
Yeah, and so we are told that we have to be there by 8 a.m.
Let that happen.
Huh?
I'm kind of surprised they let that happen.
We begged them.
I'm really surprised they didn't, duty of care, like, admit him against you.
Oh, I'm sure they probably thought, I said to Merv over and over and over again, I would drive, right? I felt very uncomfortable driving there and back at night time all by myself, having never done it and all that. But I was happy to drive.
Be supportive of him to be there with him and not just leave him there and come back when he's better.
Yes, well, we
That's another option that, that could happen. It could have happened, but I think also not something that really Merv or you could have.
No, listen, wait. So we're told we got to be back by 8 a.m. on the Friday, right? And nothing's happened, and it's getting later and later and later, and they're not even sure if he's going to get surgery, because there was a major car accident and the helicopters had been brought in with patients and everything had been pushed out 5 hours. So he wasn't taken into surgery until 8:35 at night on the Friday, the 28th of Feb. Now there's a scheme up here, which again, pretty sure it doesn't exist in Victoria. Like, there are good things about this state, and really fucking shitty things too. But there's this scheme up here called the Patient Subsidy Accommodation something. Don't quote me on what it's actually called, but it's basically a thing where if you are the support of a patient or a patient, the government will provide $70 a night for accommodation, right?
That's cool.
So in Rockhampton, there's a Red Cross medical housing accommodation directly across the street. Literally, you can see it, right?
Yeah.
And they
Like
charge...
Donald House type thing for adults.
Well, yeah, it's just all done through the Red Cross. And it's like a hotel. You have, your own room, your own private bathroom. It's, communal kitchen and communal living area, so to speak. There's a laundry. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And they only charge $70 a night so that the people aren't having to pay out of pocket. Now, usually we've been told that if someone's going to need this accommodation, it's all done in advance and it's all worked out. But as this was an emergency situation, I had to pay for everything up front and then get the paperwork to send off, right? So I was up there for 10 nights, right? And I had said to him originally that I was going to come home on Monday afternoon, have yesterday here, and go back up after this session because I needed steady internet to be able to talk to you, and believe you me, I needed to talk to you, right? But then on the Saturday, we are told he's been accepted into the Brisbane plastics, ward. And we're just like, we didn't know that was even happening. Last we had been told was that they'd been sending photos to the Brisbane hospital so that they could work together, because there isn't a specific plastic surgery sort of department in Rockhampton. But on Saturday we're told that he's actually going to Brisbane, yeah?
Yeah.
And we're told it could be week and a... Say what?
You need different equipment. The types of things they use are different.
Yeah, and anyway, they tell us it'll be like week and a half because of the cyclone stuff. And then on Sunday, we are told that it could be anywhere from tomorrow or the next day, as in yesterday or the Monday. And so I had said to him, I will go home on the Monday, get more clothes, get his scripts for his meds, get everything and get back, because we were told it would more than likely be Tuesday onwards, right? So I'm there, and I'm with him doing the dressing change. I've made the mistake of looking at what the wound looks like the first time and wouldn't be doing that again. I'm being told everything, it's slowly but surely, keeping in mind the surgery, Nicole, if you imagine your shin cut this way and then this way and took out literally every bit of tissue and skin around it, so that when I looked at the wound, I could see the bone. I could literally see his flipping bone, right? And they're saying obviously they can't stitch it, because if they were to try to do that, there'd be an actual hole in his leg between the skin and the bone, right? And so what's today? I slept almost all of yesterday. Monday we're there and it's like 10:30 maybe. They come in and they're like, the guys are on the way, they're going to be here very soon. So obviously I couldn't go and get anything. On the Sunday, they'd given us paperwork for this patient travel stuff, right? And said that I was his carer escort in this environment and that I was to be with him as that support, but under no circumstances could or would the hospital help me with organising accommodation and flights and everything to get there. And I tried looking for accommodation, but I'm just mentally, physically and emotionally drained to, And then, so he's taken on the Monday, and I still need the paperwork for all the money I've already paid. Like I paid $700 to be there, right? I've paid hundreds in petrol, food, drinks, everything, because I've obviously been eating out of fucking microwave dinners and it's just one thing after another. So they come in and they strap into the, stretcher, and they do all of that because they're on their way straight to the freaking airport to get them into the Brisbane hospital, which at this point, when I say we, I'm obviously keeping my mum and my sister and my close friends and his ones updated with everything, think that he'll be in Brisbane for a few days, so to speak, right? Find out on Monday. So when I go to get the paperwork, they're like, it hasn't been filled out yet. We don't know when you'll see a doctor. And I was like, I need to go home. So they sent me to the surgical ward. I went to the receptionist, explained what I needed, and she's like, you should be in Brisbane. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, this paperwork is for the Brisbane hospital and you're ticked to say you're his escort carer and that you'd be accompanying him. I said, yeah, we've been through all of this on the Sunday and I was told that that is not something the hospital does. And on the Monday, the lady's saying, well, you've been told very incorrectly information because that absolutely is what the hospital does and should have done. And at this point, she's sort of talking like they can arrange it for me. But I'm at the point where I've said to Merv, I support you and I think of you like family, but I cannot keep doing this. I just feel
Olivia,
fucked.
he's going to be in Brisbane for
Weeks. We found out on Monday, so this is it. On Monday, once he left at around 11 o'clock in the morning, right? I wasn't able to leave until 2:30. They had to get a social worker to come and talk to me about the paperwork. Then they said they had to make a bunch of phone calls to different departments in different hospitals. Then they had to get a doctor to do the signature and stuff. And I'm like, can you please just send it to me? Post it to me, email it to me, something. I said, I just desperately want to go home. And they were like, no, we can't. You must stay here until this is done. I've only just looked at it now, and the woman had called the Gladstone Hospital because, on the day he was admitted, I obviously rung and was like, this is going on. I'm being told that I'm eligible. Like, I'm on a disability pension. I'm out almost $1,000. I obviously need the money for the petrol and the accommodation repaid. And, like, I've literally just...
Is it looking like that's going to be reimbursed to you?
It definitely should be, according to everything I've read and been told.
So Merv's in Brisbane, you're where you live. I think that's the best decision.
100%.
Merv is going to be in pain. He's going to have physios. He's going to have...
He's having surgery today again, and we were told, like, sorry to cut you off.
No, go.
I just, like, when I spoke to him on the Monday when I finally got here, which was like 5 o'clock at night, I got home, he said that, and truth be told, like, I am over the moon, as bad as that might sound, that they gave us the wrong information, right? Because when he arrived and saw... When he arrived and I saw he was told, so what he was told by the surgeons down there was that they are basically going to continue doing what they've been doing in Rockhampton, which is allowing it to, like, try to, I don't know, grow as much as it can, I guess. Like, it's all healing from the bottom up. It's medical shit I don't fully understand. It's just gross, And then that will continue on, and then the surgery will actually be not this Friday, but next Friday for all the skin grafts that have to be done. Today, he's, however, said that upon the surgeon coming around, that he has to have surgery today, right? For extra cleaning and dressing, and I said to him on message, what's going on? Like, they've changed again, and he's just said, it's something to do with making sure they have, like, the perfect, or as best as perfect as they can, clean edges for when they start doing the other stuff. And it's just...
So if you do a skin graft and they are still a teeny tiny little microscopic piece of shit from the ladder still in his leg somewhere that the antibiotics have missed or whatever's happened, or it's just poked underneath the muscle mass, then the skin grafts will be lost.
Yeah.
And so the debrining is the most important part in plastics, and that's why you have plastics do it. It's not about necessarily pretty sutures and stuff. It's about the best of the best cleans and the best of the best in looking for things that are hidden nasties.
That's what they're doing today.
So getting hidden nasty surgery today, and most of the time they'll do more than one. plus IV antibiotics.
He's been
plus
on that, yeah.
plus. And at the end of the day, it'll be a long time before he's able. And being in Brisbane, he'll also have access to occupational therapy,
Yeah,
physiotherapy to help build muscular support and tension. You know, we want to build muscle mass back if he's lost so much to the abscess. And he's in.
Oh, I know he's in the absolute best place I fully agree.
And he needs you to be there to take care of the dog and the house and sort things out here. And sometimes being a carer doesn't mean sitting bedside.
I have sat bedside for 12 days and I just...
That's not helpful for you and your mental health or for him and his. You know, it's probably nice to have some distraction, but it's not enough.
I'll be honest and say, like, I said it to him. I was like, you know, most people wouldn't be able to do this, you know? Like, the reason I stayed there for so long with him is because I couldn't help but put myself in the shoes. And I've been in hospital so many times, and every time I've ever had to have surgery myself, and I've had so many of them, I don't even remember what they all are, truth be told, I've always been alone.
I know.
And
sometimes being physically alone is not, you know, it's about having support. Knowing that you're supported, and he needs you.
Yeah, I do not feel bad about not being in Brisbane. Like I said, I'm really happy that they did give us the wrong information, because if they had got me down to Brisbane and then we'd found out it's going to be this long,
He did need the advocate, and I'm glad you were there when you were.
I'm absolutely positive the reason it went down the way it did and he was able to stay in Rockhampton is because I started to cry and like threatened to make complaints against both hospitals because he needed someone to help him, and he's a people pleaser. Like the few times that he was in excruciating pain, he wouldn't do anything. I was like, if you don't fucking say something, I'm going to get up and do it for you, right? But I mean, I'm glad that I was able to be there with him, for him, but you know, obviously it has played a huge deal on me because I've just been focused on him completely, and not just since he was admitted on the 28th, but since this thing happened on the 14th of January.
So you spend the next little while he's safe and supported and readily accessible by phone or video, whatever it is you're choosing. You need to spend some time recovering from this yourself. He's not the only person who's under excruciating stress as a result of this injury.
No.
So what we're going to do is self-care, engage all the things you need to do. You need to sleep. You need to eat things that don't go in a microwave.
I know, I've made the meal that I've been thinking about for weeks.
In the microwave all you want.
I proper cooked yesterday and I was so happy.
What did you cook?
There's this, I think it's like Master Food sachet for like Cajun mince, and there's a plant-based mince that is no word of a lie, just like real mince, so me and Merc can eat it together, and I made that with rice and realised halfway through I did not follow the instructions at all correctly, but it tastes amazing and I was so happy, and there's like plenty for leftovers. So we need you to eat real food, sleep, rest. If you've got a bathtub, you need to use it. You know, it's simple stuff that we talk about all the time. Yeah, it will be.
But right now you have to put a concerted effort into doing it. You have to remember that you're allowed to turn your phone off for an hour and meditate or do...
I've never thought about it like that before, but that's a good point. Just turn the phone off.
I know you're all about allowing the world to see you and to do the videos and stuff, but you also sometimes just need silence. Like,
I do. Yeah.
So there's a button, I'll show you where it is on your phone, on the side. Usually you press it and you hold it. And then it says, would you like to turn off your phone? And you slide it across to yes.
Yeah,
Or whatever.
I know.
But you have to give yourself permission. And I know your head will say, oh, but what if Merv needs me? What if this and this?
Actually, I'm so
Realistically,
past it.
Realistically in the world, there's nothing that can happen in an hour that is that urgent that you can't, like, turn it off.
I'm
for an
also the sort of person, if I turn my phone off, not that I do, but if I was going to, I'd let everybody know first.
Yeah, but I think it's about saying I deserve to sleep in. I deserve the time off. I need to put petrol in my own petrol tank for my own reasons. Otherwise, you're going to be empty when you're trying to drive to bloody Rockhampton to wait and help Murph.
Yep.
And then you're on the side of the road doing nothing for no one and feeling even more crappy.
Oh, you've just reminded me that I need to book a car service because I was like 4 minutes away from home on the Monday when a light flashed up on my dashboard, and I was like, I think that might be a car service thing I need to do.
But be
But-
careful.
I'm going to turn the camera off. Talk to you guys later.